All right, today doesn't really have an agenda. The past three journal entries have been with a theme. I had an idea. I wanted to kind of put it one after the other. But to be honest, this week I didn't think much about this video. I was kind of consumed with this commission behind me, finishing that, getting this deadline together, and something cool had manifested the past couple weeks that I'll tell you about. So I have a longtime artist friend, and he lives in Japan now. And he came to visit for a show in Palm Beach, and these are the kind of friends and relationships that I don't get to see often, but I make sure that when they're in town or there's something going on, whether it be Art Basel or try to come together and make a point to see these people. And he had connected me with a woman who was, starting a gallery, and he had told me about this. Hey, I met this great lady. Um, I'm going to connect you guys. And I didn't think anything of it. Probably a month had passed. And then he connected us in this group chat. And there's something to be said about that because the art world and real friends are really hard to come by. The art world is strangely kind of competitive, where I find that other artists will kind of keep their connections to themselves, or it's like a step on and step over kind of thing, and it's really kind of weirdly fake. But when you find those artists that you could really become friends with, that are mentors, and they look out, I mean, it's just incredible. So this series of kind of saying yes, I reach out to this woman and I go visit, and she's exceptionally nice, and she's starting this gallery. So she had asked me, what I had available, and I brought some over, and she had asked me, what else do you have? And I run back to the storage unit, and I have some paintings. I don't have a ton, but I have enough, and it's why I'm always painting. You never know what comes up. You never know what you're going to run into. So I'm always kind of working on this thing. There's never not a painting to work on. Yeah, I think the general public kind of gets it confused that like every painting you make has to be attached to a buyer immediately. And that's not the case, at least for me. And I I paint and on to the next. I treat them like sheets of paper. I'm always buying canvas. I'm always buying paint, and I'm not the most lavish individual, but I do not skimp on my paint, and I do not skimp on my supplies. I learned that, about halfway through my journey, that if I want to try to sell these paintings for money, I have to use what I consider is the better of the products. I can't be using craft paint and Home Depot paint anymore, and kind of, half-assing this thing. Um, so I go visit this gallery, and I bring some paintings, and she's asking, do you have more? Do you have more? And I brought about 7 pieces over, and it just felt good to have a new set of eyes on the work. And she was excited. I was excited that she was excited, and um, this gallery is right down the street, so there can be a level of connection that is helpful, hopefully, to her and a potential client if they wanted to do a studio visit, if they wanted to hear more about the work. I mean, I could go on and on. Um, so, so they had the opening night last night, and earlier in the week they sold a few pieces, which is fantastic. And I was telling a friend of mine that had visited at the show, um, sometimes I need that. I go through these ebbs and flows of, just kind of painting those pieces of paper and putting them off into the corner and posting them on social media. And sometimes that's just where they live. And it's super unfortunate that they can't be seen, to breathe, to be absorbed through other people and different perspectives. So, to come up that wave of somebody else seeing and having the opening night and getting new eyes on the painting, and I'm talking about the work, and people are thanking me or whatever. I don't know if it's ego, but it's something that inspires me. Unfortunately and fortunately, like when some work sells, it inspires me again. Like, okay, like I'm still on this thing. We're still going, and for better or worse, when that happens, it kind of re-inspires me. So I feel good in that regard where, okay, I know I'm on the right track. I got some great feedback last night, and let's just keep moving. I mean, I got stacks of canvases. I have ideas and iterations and small changes within this series that I want to do that, I can go on and on. I mean, I'm finding that this series is becoming like an endless thing. I mean, I have so many different color combinations that I want to incorporate, and different kind of illusions and different sets. So it's exciting. But I came back from it not feeling the best, because I'm hard on myself because of how I'm preparing these paintings, because some of them aren't absolutely perfect, and I can dive down into this hole that is not a good place to be. Um, Finishing these commissions behind me, are they perfect? Are they the way they're supposed to be? Is the client going to love them? She hasn't seen the full set yet. She's going to hate them. And this is all kind of the dialogue. Like, I'll sit on this couch over here, stare at these pieces for hours, picking them apart, and finally I just kind of have to give up. These are original paintings. This is my process. This is part of the game. I don't, I can't copy something perfectly. They're not meant to be as perfect as I think I'm fantasizing about. They're original paintings. I mean, if that was the case, I would just be printing these. That's not the craft that I'm going after. But with this series and these rigid geometric shapes, there is a bit of consistency and conciseness that needs to go on. But I cannot continue to wrestle with that, because it becomes unhealthy. And the best part about it was I'll tell you the truth. I mean, this blue one behind me was redone. And I think in my earlier video I had alluded to that. And I had redone the blue because the gradients wasn't perfect, and the first one was sitting on the easel. And this gallery that I was telling you about, she had asked, what more do you have? Do you have more? And after taking 3 trips to the storage unit, I said, I have one more, and it was this first rendition of this blue one that was a mistake. And I brought it over. She's, wow, this is really great. And 2 days later, she texts me and says she sold it for full price. So it's a perfect example of what I think is not right could be someone's favorite, So it's all a great learning lesson, and I'm trying not to hang on to these things for too long. It's, having that kind of confidence. letting the client decide, and the world of commissions can be daunting. I mean, I'm asking myself, like, do I even want to do these, because I want to just stay true to what I want to paint next. But it's part of the game. If I can get sellable opportunities and move some work through commissions, or complete originals, it's where we're at. So I'm kind of going up and down this roller coaster this week. On to the next. I believe we're going to do 2 pieces that are going to go to Dallas, to a gallery in Texas, or Houston, I think it is. So, stay tuned on those. I'm fully inspired to get more work to this new gallery. So we have great things going, and I'll keep you updated. But great learning lessons this week. I'm going to stay inspired. I'm going to run later. I'm going to suffer, and that's part of the game.